my name is Kendra Bracken-Ferguson. I'm so honored and grateful to be here today. I like to say I'm an OG of BlogHer. I was at some of the first conferences and have spoken at them over the years, and am just so excited to see how it's grown and to be in this space with all of these beautiful faces. I'm a huge fan of Sam's. We actually just spoke together at a conference in LA, I'm in New York, called Women in Media. Sam actually brought me into the conference, and I think it's important that you always have those women in your life that bring you along. As they're successful, they're helping you to be more successful. So I'm just a big supporter in general. When I think about this conference and what it means, now really is the time for women. Women entrepreneurs, women influencers, women in business, and I feel really strongly about that. I'm actually standing here today. I'm the founder of a company called Brain Trust. I'm the chief digital officer of a company called CAA's Global Brands Group. I've actually been working in the social media space since 2002. I started as a publicist, moved into social, was recruited by Ralph Lauren to launch them on social media, and then I left and started a company with my co-founder, Karen Rabinovitz, called Digital Brand Architects, DBA. And we were the first company to really look at bloggers as talent. And this is back in 2009. So we were going to brands and we were knocking on the door and we were like, look at these influencers. These are the it girls. These are the people that really matter. Fast forward, and we're sitting in rooms like this where influencers are driving the conversation, where they actually have more followers, more engagement, more reach than traditional media outlets. So it's a great time to be here in this space. After I left DBA, I started Brain Trust, and we're really focused on helping brands partner with influencers, figure out what they should be doing in social media. And then at the end of last year, that company was acquired by CAA's Global Brands Group, hence why I'm now the Chief Digital Officer. So I've been really able to follow the journey of influencers. I'm sitting in an amazing company in CAA where we work with some of the most amazing, talented influencers in the world, and helping them really figure out their passion and their profit, and how do you get there. So today, I have the honor of having amazing women on stage with me who have started as bloggers, who have built their brands, their careers, and who have turned their passion into profit, which is what we're going to talk about today. So ladies, come on up. The goal of our panel for today is to really get into the conversation of how do you create a sustainable platform? How do you become an influencer? How do you know when you need an agent, a manager, a publicist? How do you create additional streams of revenue through your blog? So we want to make sure that everyone leaves here with valuable tips and tricks. We are going to have a Q&A at the end, so get your questions ready. But without further ado, I'm going to let each of the panelists introduce themselves, and let's have some fun. Let's get started.
Hi guys, I'm Courtney. I run the blog Color Me Courtney. Oh, thank you so much. I really started my blog as a resume booster. I got my MBA in marketing at 21 and then moved to New York, and no one would hire me. So I started my blog in hopes of working in corporate fashion, and it eventually took off and became my own job that I run. So I've been doing Color Me Courtney full-time for about 2.5 years now. And I kind of differentiate myself by talking about color and body positivity and different things like that. This year it was really exciting. I was in a Microsoft commercial, which was really cool. So maybe you saw me in your living room, and if so, I apologize because I was just hanging out there. And yeah, I just really enjoyed doing this and kind of spreading my message and just helping inspire other young girls through the journey.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Katie Storino. I like you, front row. Yeah.
This is a great
so I started blogging actually because my dog Toast Meets World had a big social media account that I started. Did any of you follow Toast?
Yay, Toast.
All right, we need more of you to follow Toast. But so Toast Meets World became very successful. We wrote a book. She got married on The Real Housewives of New York. Maybe some of you saw that. And then I started a blog to help women who were kind of in size purgatory. I like to think of it like size 10 to 18, help them shop. But what it turned into was a place to kind of find confidence and body positivity. And then a year ago, I launched Mega Babe.
You're like, wait.
This is so fun. The Mega Babe is it's a women's personal care line, which sounds bad, but it's awesome. We'd make a thigh chafe stick and a boob sweat spray. We make a deodorant that has a 10,000 person wait list at the moment, which kills me every day. And so we're going to continue making products to make women feel comfortable and confident.
Thank you. Mary?
I'm Mary Orton, and I'm the blogger behind Memorandum.com, and I'm also the co-founder and CEO of Trove. My career started actually in investment banking, where I worked for several years, and we were working on a women's retail company, at which point I first stumbled upon fashion bloggers for the first time and thought, who are these idiots putting pictures of themselves on the internet, and how do I do that? No, in all seriousness, I was amazed by the ways in which these new platforms were connecting with women all over the world, were completely changing the landscape of fashion and retail. And I wanted to speak to a demographic that I felt was not being spoken to. And that was sort of my demographic, the modern working girl. So it was in the building of Memorandum that we also started seeing some interesting challenges in this space. Of course, influencer content being the most compelling driver of consumer purchases, but it's being handicapped across the board by existing platforms. So we started Trove, and Trove is a digital style and shopping platform. We have a consumer-facing app that you can download in the App Store. But what we're all about is indexing and aggregating the world's influencer content and making it shoppable everywhere. So we feel that, again, this influencer content is so compelling, it's so meaningful to the consumer at every point in their shopping process. It should be everywhere the consumer is, online and offline. So that's Trove.
Great. And it's such a good startup because we talk about what you guys were doing in your day jobs, how you saw a need in the marketplace. And I think when we look at what this session is called, Passion to Profit, the biggest thing that hopefully you heard in their intros is that they were passionate about something. So let's talk about how do you figure out what you're really passionate about, and then how do you take the steps to actually launch something around that passion, especially whenever you're coming off of an MBA and you're supposed to go into business, or you're in the world of finance and you're saying, I see these people doing it, how do I get started? Do you want to start, Mary, and we can go down?
Sure. I think all three of us, exactly what you said, Kendra, are examples of people who started from a sort of inward-looking place. When I surveyed the landscape of existing media platforms, blogs at the time, I felt as though people were mostly speaking to women in traditional marketing buckets. You are either the pink girly girl that wears florals all the time, or you're the boho sexy beach kitten, or you're the humorless gray pantsuit wearing career girl. There wasn't sort of an accurate picture of who I was out there, and so that's what I wanted to do. But I think what's really important to think about as you're perhaps defining your niche is, again, to look inward. I think it's Gary Vaynerchuk who perhaps started the idea of document, don't create. And I think that's so important. Don't think about what kind of image you can invent and how you can portray that. Think about what you want, what you need in the landscape, because there are other people like you out there. And so if you focus on that, the idea that you're not sort of choreographing everything and trying to be something you're not, I think that's so important.
Well, and I think that's a really good point, because when we look and we tell people, the most important thing you can do is be authentic to yourself. Because if you're gonna build a long-term career, if you're fake, the fakeness fades. You get tired of it. You can't
keep
sustain
it up.
it.
Yeah.
So look inside, take the time to write down, who am I, what do I believe, what am I naturally doing? And it helps. And from your experience, Katie, because yours is.
I was just going to say, when I started 12ish Style, I looked on the feeds and I wondered why there was no body type like mine, and so I started it. But I was trying to follow in the path of like, oh, this is what a blogger looks like. But like, here's a secret, and maybe not a secret for you if you've seen my feed. I'm kind of a shitty blogger. Like, I'm not like a great, I'm not that polished, as you have probably already gathered, but I am very real, authentic, and I can't help but to be me. So for better or for worse, that's what I realized that I could bring to the table, is just who I am, because I couldn't create, like you said, like I couldn't create the content to look just like everyone else.
Well, and that's what makes you so special. I think that I see you guys on your phone, so if we even go and look at what Katie's doing, you see the originality between all of the panelists, and that's why you're cheering for them, because it comes out. And Courtney?
Yeah, definitely to echo what they said. I work on my blog all the time. I pull a lot of all-nighters, and I'm sure they do as well. If I had to be someone else during all that time, like, I couldn't do that. So that's why I had to just kind of stay true to myself. For me, when I was starting out, I did kind of look at other blogs and was like, oh, this is how I have to pose, this is what I have to do, and I was not successful at all because I was echoing what already existed. I only found success when I was like, oh, let me do something totally different. At the time, like, Instagram was all marble backdrops and like white, and I was like, let's throw some color in there, and like that made it so much better. And now people will be like, oh, have you always liked color? And I was like, yeah, absolutely, that's just been a part of my personality, and so I picked it as a part of my brand and kind of built everything around that, and that's allowed me to stand out.
Well, and I think that's a great segue. Something that we talked about when we were all discussing this panel was point of view. And when you look at the sea of sameness and then you try and figure out, how am I different? I love colors, I love different sizes, I can't be perfect. It really comes down to point of view, because everybody in here, we're all fashion people or beauty people. So when you look at the core, it's kind of the same, but point of view is what truly differentiates you. So when you can take your passion and you can write and figure out, what am I passionate about? What am I organically inclined to do? And then you can figure out your point of view. It gets you to the next step. So let's talk about point of view, because point of view is a little bit different than passion, but it's all connected. Katie?
I was going to say, I'm passionate about ice cream, but I don't know that the world needs my ice cream brand, nor, well, maybe they do, I don't know, but nor do I think that that's something that I would be like very good at, or do I really want to work in an ice cream shop all day and stand behind the counter and scoop for the first year because I can't afford employees, or, you know what I mean? So I thought about starting an ice cream line. So I looked into some of those things that I'm passionate about, but I realized I didn't like what the day-to-day looked like for me. Now, I started Mega Babe, my line, a year ago, and it is entering the beauty space, which is so saturated. But I realized that I was bringing new products to the market, which is A, incredibly difficult to do because it's so saturated, and B, I really feel like I'm bringing real solutions to real problems for women. So I'm not trying to sell you something you can buy elsewhere. But the whole point is that if I'm making a product, if I'm investing that money, if I'm investing that time and taking that risk, because I am self-funded, I really needed to have something different. So if you're thinking about launching a product, you need to come to the market with something really special, something very different that is not, that there's not 5 of them or 500 of them already on the market and you're just gonna come join the game. You need something different. And that's where I found that niche. Oh, she left, damn it. I'm just kidding, sorry.
Because you call her out.
It was a joke, all right? Anyway, I was just saying that if you're going to make a product, make sure that you have a point of view, because you don't want to get lost in a sea of sameness.
Yeah. And that's important. And I think, too, the product category, which we'll talk about, lends itself to so many different things, but that point of view is what's kept you in your unique position and having products that are truly different.
And people will say it's niche. They'll say plus size clothing is niche. They'll say that a thigh chafe stick is niche. It's not niche. It's just not being addressed right now.
And we need it. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think one thing that's so important to do if you're a content creator, if you're a blogger in some capacity, influencer in some capacity, is to constantly extricate yourself from the blogosphere. I think that it's easy to, because you're passionate about what you're doing and you're looking at everybody else that is doing something similar, that you end up, exactly what Courtney was talking about, you end up having your own content, your own product, whatever form that is, being really reductive. And that's when you run into the troubles of not having a unique point of view. And so I think that across the board, it's so critically important to balance keeping your finger on the pulse, constantly seeing what's new in the market, seeing what other people in your space are doing, but also spending as much time outside of that, looking at other industries, talking to other entrepreneurs who are perhaps applying creative strategies in other industries, and bringing that back to what you're doing.
That's important.
I also think, as we talk about point of view, and to echo again what Mary said, it's important to know that you don't have to do everything that's like typical blogger. Like for me, I don't do gift guides. So holidays come around and people are like, will you do a gift guide? And I was like, no, I don't know your mom. I don't know what your mom wants. Like, I can't tell you what to buy your mom, so I just don't do them. And I do other things like 5 fun things to do in New York this Christmas, or like unconventional things to give as an experience instead of giving an actual gift, because those are things that I do and I give personally, and I don't give physical gifts, so I don't do gift guides. I think it's important to apply your point of view to these like things that you think are so standard that you have to do in the blogging industry, and putting your own spin on it. And also, I was recently at a different panel where she was a writer in the music industry, but she talked about how she takes a really long time to write her articles. And that resonated with me because I think in the blogging industry, there's a lot of pressure. You feel like you have to produce content every single day. And now, more than ever, it's quality content over quantity. So don't just write a random post and just throw it up just to throw it up. Like, really taking the time to, like, Katie recently wrote a post that when we were on a call, I was talking about this because I love this post so much. She wrote a post, it was like, how to make your bigger girl, like if she's taller or larger than her friends at 13 or whatever, because we all grow at different sizes and different times, how to make her feel loved in her community. And I was like, I was always the shortest girl. Like I've never been tall, but I read that and I related to that. And so creating this special content that's different, that maybe she's the only one who could tell this story and tell it the way she did, but even someone who didn't live what she lived, I related to it. So finding those different unique points of view and inserting that into your content is what's gonna drive people, grow your audience, and ultimately make you successful.
That's really good, and you touched upon a few things there that I think everyone here is probably, all the time, that's what you do, that I think everyone's kind of interested in. So as we talk about point of view, and we also talk about content, so your passion, you have your point of view, and then how do you bring that to life? And I think, we hear from our brand's clients, like you have to have 17 pieces of content a day across every single channel, and influencers are constantly getting bombarded with brands that want them to do things, and trying to figure out the balance between how much content is the right mix to grow, how much content is the right mix to satisfy your followers, how much content do you even want to do, especially if it does take a little longer. So can you guys give a tip about how do you find the content balance for your channel that still helps you stay true to what you believe in? That was a great example with the gift guides.
Yeah, so I do believe in consistency. Like, I will post a stop motion video every Wednesday, and like that's my thing. So you tune in on Wednesday, and you know that there's consistency. And I think it's changed as the markets become more saturated, because if you asked me last year, I'd be like, you need to post every day. You need to be consistent. You need to be creating content so that your followers don't go looking elsewhere for content. But now there's so many creators. Your followers are already following 5 bloggers, 10 bloggers. Like, each of you don't only follow one blogger, right? So everyone else is doing the same thing. So I think now it's more relevant to create those quality pieces, even if they take a little bit longer, if they're personal stories that only you can tell, because that's what people are going to be tuning into.
That's good. Does anyone else have a perspective?
Oh,
I was just going to say that every time, I totally went through what Courtney just described, where there were periods of time where I felt this impetus to post for the sake of posting, to stay on a schedule. I would say you have to balance. If you want to do it professionally, you have to be consistent. You have to work hard. You have to keep sort of office hours in a consistent schedule. But I would also say that today, I really think whatever piece of content it is, whether it's an Insta story or whether it's something that's on memorandum.com, I am always thinking what real value does this provide to my audience? And if I can't answer that question, then a post doesn't go up today. I think that making sure you're not posting for the sake of posting to keep this phantom schedule, that's never going to make you successful. And so every single thing, I think, what is the value specifically that I'm providing? Is it a laugh? And that's fine, that entertainment value. Is it a specific sort of product recommendation or styling tip? Whatever it is, there has to be a specific answer to that question or it doesn't go up.
Well, and I think that that's a really good point. It's the consistency, and it's asking yourself those hard questions, which also go back to your point of view, and also go back to why Courtney doesn't do gift guides. So you have to stay consistent to that, so that whenever you are putting out content, you're not losing followers because it's for the sake of checking a box. And do you ever have concern? I mean, we get a lot of questions about the algorithms are changing, and Courtney mentioned it. She thought she had to post every day. How are you handling that? Because you are all bloggers. So there's a distinction here when you talk about blogging and having a blog that you write on every day versus being on Instagram or Facebook or Pinterest, which is not an owned channel that you have, but that you put content on. And you guys all own blogs as well. So how does that fit in with your overall content mix? How do you deal with the Instagrams and the algorithms? And is it the same content that you use? Katie.
I do not force a blog post, but I do have a blog. And I try not to write too much in my Instagram captions because I don't think people have the attention span for them. I certainly don't. I don't know. I really like video content. That's my sweet spot. I actually don't love writing that much. And I was going to say that everything is so saturated right now, I'm going to hit you over the head with it again, that the more specific you are and the more that people know they can come to you for one thing, and maybe that one thing is eyebrows, or maybe that one thing is like a certain color or a certain, whatever, the more specific you can be, the more successful you can be, because eventually people will be like, oh yeah, I know this one girl, she really only talks about like toenails. So that's the people will know they can come to you for that versus trying to be everything.
I would just add that it's important, if you're a blogger like we are, or an influencer, is to really pay attention to what platforms you own. And so I've seen a lot of bloggers go in the direction where they perhaps started on a blog, and because there's so much attention on Instagram right now, and that's important to remember, is that the attention is just there right now, that they've sort of abandoned these other platforms where they had success. But I think it's really important in terms of diversifying your business to keep that blog audience strong, simply because that's an audience and a platform that you own. It's not subject to the continually changing algorithm on another social platform. So things like your own website, perhaps it's an email list. Maybe you do email marketing or email newsletters. Those are platforms that you own. Those are audiences that are captive to you and someone can't take away.
Exactly.
My fiance's not here, so I'm going to use a story that he doesn't let me ever use. Tila Tequila, she had the biggest MySpace following. No one has a MySpace anymore. I don't know what Tila Tequila is doing, and I don't want to be the Tila Tequila of Instagram. So that's why you have to, like, if you didn't listen to anything else, just remember the fear of Tila Tequila, and that's why you have to have another platform, something that you own, so that you don't become obsolete just when a platform becomes obsolete.
Well, and I think that that's also a good kind of segue into, let's look at additional ways to be profitable. Because whenever you have your blog, and we don't want to be the Tila Tequilas of the world, but there's so many ways that you can drive incremental revenue. I mean, I'm sitting amongst business women here who are running companies, who are generating revenue, and it's phenomenal. Like, I get chills when you think about it. But what are some tips? Like, how do you say, I want to have incremental streams of revenue? I want to create my own brand. I want to create an algorithm and a technology. Like, what's the journey to extend what you're doing and to create a platform, another platform? Katie, anyone want to start? Katie?
You're talking about product.
Yes,
product
Mega Babes Beauty.
Well, you have to decide, I'm going to make a product. I want to make this product. I've got this idea for this product. How am I going to sell this product? How am I going to get people's attention? And do you have that built-in platform? I would say starting with an audience that you already own is incredibly valuable because I don't necessarily have to rely on media every single time. And I think that's why founder brands are so interesting right now. But that's all I have.
And do you feel, because Katie, you talk about audience, which I think is important.
Yep.
And so being able to build the audience first and then create a product based upon your passion that also connects with your blog and your site was like a natural extension.
Yeah, I'm watching people do this right now. I have a friend in mind. I won't blow her up, but I'm watching her build this storyline around this like part of her life around her child, because I know she's gonna launch a product next year. So I'm watching her hit that over and over and over, and whether you want to notice it or not, you will eventually be like, I can go to her for some inspiration about this one thing.
And it makes sense.
And it makes sense. And then in a year when she launches that product, it's so smart because everyone already knows she's the, whatever that part is, queen. So
it's good. And I think, Mary, too, I mean, when you look at your background and coming from finance and doing Memorandum and now doing Trove, what was that path for you? How did you get to Trove off of Memorandum?
You know, for me, I think that it's really interesting to survey the influencer landscape, especially evolving from the, old school fashion bloggers, the OG fashion bloggers. And there was a time not long ago, 8 years ago, less than that, where we were this like weird fringe element of the industry. And now, if you look at the numbers, we're driving, again, more consumer purchases than any other sort of source of media. And so for me, it's I think sort of female empowerment, professional empowerment as well is something that I'm really, really passionate about. And I see this enormous community of women all over the world who are independently transforming industries. And they don't have the business tools that they need. And they don't have a way to disseminate their content without being cannibalized by an algorithm or a change of this or that. They don't have enough monetization opportunities to properly run their business. They don't have enough sort of business tools to run their business, and that's what these are. These are businesses. And so that's something that I'm really excited about, that Trove is providing this community of creators.
That's great. That's so great. And we're getting the red flashing light. So before we go to Q&A, if you could each just give everyone in the room one tip. One tip, how do you get into the influencer game? How do you build great content? We didn't get to talk about agents and managers, but just what's the one thing? If you could shout it out to everybody in this room as your parting thing, what would it be to all the influencers here?
Become an expert in something. For me, my expertise is color, and as a result, opportunities come because of that. This brand wants to do a colorful thing. They come to me. Microsoft wants to introduce a colorful product. I get selected for that. Become an expert in something and shout it in all of your content, and that can really drive your business.
Fantastic. Be an expert.
It's the same thing, exactly. find your niche and put it out there and hit people over the head with it over and over until they really understand that that's what you're about. Also, managers and agents do not get you jobs. You have to get those for yourself. So if you think that a manager or an agent's gonna like make you blow up, they will only talk to you when brands already know about you.
That's a good point.
I would echo what both of them said, and just the idea that you can't be everything to everyone. So find your niche and find your area of expertise. But I would also just echo what I mentioned earlier, which is the idea of document, don't create. You can't, unless you are an Academy Award-winning actress and you can continue to perform at that level for the foreseeable future every single day. The amount of hard work that goes into being an influencer is so immense that you can't sort of maintain that facade. So you're going to do the best. You're going to resonate the best if you're true to yourself and looking sort of inward.
Fantastic. So be an expert, find your niche, don't rely on managers and agents to make your brand. Go out there and do it, and then make sure that you're documenting, that you're figuring out who you are, and that you, again, have found that secret sauce that's personal to you. So thank you, ladies, so much. We have quick Q&A. I believe we're going to do a quick Q&A. Does anyone have? Yes.
A question in the middle.
Sorry, I said she could go. And then I'll let you do your job. Let me just let her ask hers real quick.
Okay. Hi, I run The Hangry Italian Girl, which is a food blog, and I'm starting a social media company. I have that going, but my real passion is helping women. I run a page called That Bitch XO, which has about 40,000 followers on Instagram and 175K on Twitter. It's like my baby. I love it. I get like 100 messages a day from women. I'm 6 years in mental health in college. But I feel like bitch isn't always resonating with everyone, and I had been on a spiritual journey, and I'm not sure if the name really is fitting with me anymore. How do you go about rebranding, and who would I look for to do that?
Thank you. Great question. Does anyone want to take that?
So, well, I've always been Color Me Courtney, so I haven't gone through what you're going through, but I do think that brands can definitely change and evolve as you change and evolve. Are you kind of the face of it, or are you very behind the scenes? You're the face of it. So I think, and you recently became the face of it. You've always been. So I think that's the perfect time to change and say, like, this is what it was at one point. This is what it's evolved to, because this is how I've evolved. And I don't think it's bad to say, this is where we were, and this is where we're going, and this is part of the journey. Yeah. I think just being honest and open and talking about it, maybe doing something like relaunching a website at the same time, a different way to drive people back to see it and see what's new and what's changed, but also telling them what you're gonna hold on to so they don't feel like, oh, they lost a part of what it was originally.
And you should look at XO Nicole, because Nicole Bitchy has gone through a whole formation into XO Nicole, and it's everything that Courtney is saying. So just go back and look at her and look at the journey, and you can see the evolution of like switching content into the spiritual person she is. She actually left New York, redid everything. So when you couple the two, it'll give you a good example. Okay, let me let you do your job. You figure out.
Should I talk?
Oh, okay.
Okay, hi.
Hi. I started out untraditionally. I started posting on LinkedIn every day for the last 2 years, and I'm launching my site. I'm launching a blog. So how do I get the 68,000 followers on LinkedIn to go to my blog? Like, how do I drive the traffic to my site?
I don't know much about I think you would just keep posting your site on, like, you do a tease. If I were you, I would do a tease, and I would say, like, thinking of painting your bedroom gray, here's why you shouldn't do it. And then, like, so kind of clickbait them to your site, like pull them in with a tease, and then, because you seem to have a big following there. So that's what I would do.
I would also add that that's so important, constantly promoting your other platform that you want to drive to. Okay. But I would also be sure to balance that with the organic content that has made you successful on LinkedIn. Because the reason you're sort of resonating there is because people want to be there. The people that are on LinkedIn, it's kind of like going into a McDonald's and saying, hey, do you guys prefer Burger King? Like, no, we're here because we actually like this platform. Now I'm hungry. But you know, I think that that's really important because I've seen people who have tried to do similar things, and it's important to keep that balance because what you don't want to do is end up just killing both audiences.
Right.
And
That's my worry.
And I think making sure that you're ready for both, making sure that you have a plan and a point of view. And Katie mentioned it earlier. She doesn't do long form content on Instagram. She's a video person. So look at both of the native options for the channels. And as you're looking at your content and what makes you special, make sure that you're also creating content for that audience within the platform the way that they want to receive it.
Okay, thank you.
I would also say maybe look at the LinkedIn content that performed really well and that people wanted more of. And those are the things that you should write articles about. And then it's like a double, you could win both ways because those people aren't going to leave LinkedIn, but they'll also then want to read more about whatever topic it was that excited them the most.
Thank you. I used the analytics yesterday to pull a report, and I'm going to start with those blog posts. So thank you.
That's great.
I have a question to your right.
15 seconds. Can I keep going? Okay, one more question.
We have a question in the middle. Hi. I have a lifestyle blog that I launched last November, and actually I follow you, Katie. I like you a lot. So I was never on Instagram, really much on social media at all. And when I launched the lifestyle blog, of course, everyone's like, you have to do Instagram and social media, blah. So I seem to be gaining quite a following on Instagram and Facebook, but I can't seem to get a lot of people to actually subscribe to the blog. And I'm spending like all this time and energy writing content and all this stuff, and it's just hard to like get people to move from that to that. And then actually I have a two-part question. And the other thing is now I have people actually reaching out to me, brands, to see if, sending me things and wanting me to, try stuff. And I really am only talking about things that I genuinely like and use. But, how do you reach out to the brands that you like? Is it a media kit or what is it that you need to do for that?
Okay, so go where the people are. If the people are coming to you for content on Instagram or Facebook, put your efforts there, and just because you want to put effort into the blog does not mean that's where people are trying to go. So go where the people are, step one. Step two, with those brands that you're like not interested maybe in working with like a diaper brand, but you are working with like a lipstick brand, you go on LinkedIn, back to LinkedIn, you go on LinkedIn and you find that PR contact, the brand strategist, whoever it is, and you stalk them. And you find their email address, and you can pitch yourself, and they are going to want to know your numbers and your what your engagement is and everything like that. So you just kind of include that in a short email.
All right, guys, thank you so much. Courtney Quinn, Katie Serino, and Mary Orton.